Ephesians 5. The great mystery of marriage, which is Christ and the Church. In this chapter, Paul provides instructions on how believers should live their lives and maintain good relationships with one another. He emphasizes the importance of imitating God and walking in love, avoiding sexual immorality, and submitting to one another. Paul also addresses the roles and responsibilities of husbands and wives. Exegesis by sections and verses. Verses 1 to 2. Walking in love and imitating God. Paul begins the chapter by urging the Ephesian believers to imitate God and walk in love. He reminds them that Christ loved us and gave himself up for us, and so we should also love one another and offer ourselves as a living sacrifice for others. Verses 3 to 7. Rejecting immorality. Paul addresses the importance of maintaining purity and holiness in the lives of believers, urging them to abstain from sexual immorality, impure thoughts or actions, and covetousness. He emphasizes that those who persist in such behaviors will not inherit the kingdom of God, and he warns against being deceived by false teachers. Verses 8 to 14. Living as children of light. Paul instructs the Ephesian believers to have no fellowship or association with the unfruitful works of darkness. Instead, they are to expose and bring them to light. Paul emphasizes that such shameful actions are not even to be spoken of. He affirms that when these things are exposed, they are revealed for what they truly are. Verses 15 to 21. Walking wisely and being filled with the Spirit. Paul instructs the Ephesians to be careful in how they live, making the most of every opportunity to do good and not giving in to foolishness or drunkenness. He encourages them to be filled with the Spirit, singing songs and hymns and spiritual songs, and giving thanks to God always. Verses 22 to 33. Roles and responsibilities in marriage. Paul concludes the chapter by addressing the relationships between husbands and wives. He instructs wives to submit to their husbands, as to the Lord, and husbands to love their wives, as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. The metaphor of Christ and the church also highlights the intimacy and unity between Christ and his followers. It underscores the idea that the church is the bride of Christ, chosen and loved by him. The church is called to submit to Christ's authority, trust in his leadership, and live in obedience to his teachings. Paul emphasizes the unity between husbands and wives, saying that they become one flesh, and that the relationship between Christ and the church is a great mystery. Note: the word mystery in Paul's writings does not mean that it is unknowable, but that it was once unknown, but has now been revealed. This term could be compared to a mystery novel. Once you have read the novel, then you know what the mystery was. Overall summary. In Ephesians chapter 5, Paul urges believers to imitate God and walk in love, while warning against sexual immorality and other sins. He instructs them to be careful in how they live, making the most of every opportunity to do good, and to be filled with the Spirit. He also addresses the relationship between husbands and wives, instructing wives to submit to their husbands, and that husbands are to love their wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Overall, the chapter emphasizes the importance of living in the light, imitating Christ, and maintaining good relationships with one another.